Dear Lord, we come before you this evening, thanking you for this day and the blessings that you give us every day. We ask that you guide our hearts and minds to make decisions that are in the best interest of our water system and its members. Lord, we ask that you watch over and protect our military men and women, first responders, all those that work to keep us free and safe every day. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Darrell, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to the November meeting of the Holly Navarre Water System Board of Directors. We appreciate everybody being here for our meeting. I'd like to announce that we do have a quorum. We've got a full board tonight. Audio and video recorders are in use. Please fill out the member form sign-up sheet in the lobby if you'd like to address the board. Proxy and absentee voting started November 1st, and it closes on December 22nd at 4 p.m. The Articles of Incorporation vote is available via proxy or on Election Day, January 16th. First item of business is approval of minutes and transcripts. We have the October 17th, 2023 regular meeting minutes and transcripts, and we have the November 7th board action without a meeting, revised 2022 corporate tax returns. Looking for a motion to approve those.
I motion to approve the minutes and the transcripts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on those? All in favor say aye. Aye. Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. Approval of memberships. We have 280 new memberships in October. We have 266 canceled memberships and 0 transfers. Can I get a motion to approve the membership?
So Mark, before maybe I missed it, did we also move to approve the bond, or did we need to?
Well,
I didn't hear it.
Technically, we
That's all.
don't need to.
yeah, we really don't need to. It was a board action without a meeting, but I'll just announce that the board did approving to post it to the website.
Okay.
All righty.
I make a motion to approve the new memberships as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move right into new business. CEO update, Mr. Krigler.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I have two items related to our forensic audit implementation. The first is that we are looking to implement a fraud hotline in December. We have a third-party website that will host that for a very reasonable cost, and it will allow an employee to anonymously report fraud. So we'll be rolling that out. Director Miller and I talked about it. Any potential complaint would go anonymously to him. It would provide the ability for that person to have a correspondence with Director Miller.
Or whoever the acting president is.
Whoever yes, I don't want to assume that, sorry. Whoever the acting president is at the time. And it'll also allow hosting of the data, and it won't be available to any of the employees. So it's a secure way to anonymously receive these any type of fraud complaint. The other item on the forensic audit, I did as an action item from last month's meeting. I was asked to reach out to Carr-Riggs Ingram to ask them, I believe again, about the value of looking at this prior period. I did do that, and the question I posed to them is, if we did do that, would the recommendations we already have most likely cover in anything that he was concerned about? And the answer was he couldn't say 100% yes, but he said most likely yes. The recommendations we're already implementing should cover any additional allegations that had come up for the time period before. So I didn't proceed with a dollar quote or a proposal. I wanted to pass that feedback along, so I know there was full discussion about it and an action item to contact them. The next item I wanted to update everybody on is the budget. So we've been working real hard on the 2024 budget. The schedule for the budget is we are having a workshop on the 7th. The directors will receive a draft of that on Wednesday, the 29th. So in that packet, you'll get essentially 3 draft budgets. Club, Messy, Holland Water Water System, and you're also going to get a draft memo of our proposed reserve requirements for Holland Water Water System, and you're also going to get draft pay bands for all our positions. So that'll all be in one packet. Like I said, sent out the Wednesday after Thanksgiving, and then we'll have the workshop on December 7th. I have the corporate taxes on here as an update. We've already completed that. I think we covered that with the board action without a meeting. And then the Sprayfield cost breakdown is part of the financial packet. We have been including that monthly. Just wanted to note that, and we'll be discussing that more in the financial section as well. And that's all I had for CEO update.
All right, any questions for Mr. Krigler? Thank you, Jeff. Financials, review of the September quarterly 2023 financials. Mr. Krigler?
Thank you. Yes, I'll let Ms. Barbara take care of those this month.
All right, the total year to date for September is $10,509,292. Total expense, that was revenue, sorry. Total expenses was $9,425,945 with a net operating income of $1,083,347. Overall, we're right on budget with the water expenses. Admin expenses just under budget at 2%, and wastewater just under budget. Overall, I think we're doing great.
I think you said, Ms. Nomer, you said the expenses were 9 million, you mean 900 and some thousand, right?
9 for the year.
Year to date.
For the year to date, yes.
Okay.
Any questions for Ms. Barber? All right, any discussion on the financials? All right, looking for a motion to approve the financials as submitted.
I make a motion to approve the financials as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. All righty, director's updates. We're going to start with the Finance Committee updates. Joe Campbell?
So I'm going to let, Don, did you want to talk anything about capital improvements?
No, we didn't meet this week, so unless Clinton knows that something's off the rails, I think we're doing just fine.
You want to update us on pension? Y'all had a pension meeting, right?
So we did have a pension meeting, mostly went over where the allocations were, the past performance, and also discussed the payment that we're going to be discussing tonight to keep us at the 80% mark. So we'll be talking about that then.
Okay.
Daryl, do you want to talk budget no now?
Well, I think Barbara kind of hit on it. We're 3/4 of the way through the year and at 75% on all of our sections. So we're hitting right on budget so far.
And Mark, I do have one item. About page 58 of your packet, we had staff come up with Sprayfield expenses. Daryl has brought up several times that there's this line item that was covered. I can't remember where it was. That during the audit or during the audit about how we accounted for Sprayfield expenses, and water system was writing the checks, and it really should go to the Hidden Creek, and then they pay them at Reeseburg. They used to call it subsidies.
Yeah, I know.
There's about the staff came up at the end of the day. Back in September of 22, the board actually voted that identified what expenses would be Sprayfield and which wasn't. That passed, but before that, the water system was actually paying Sprayfield expenses that the board never actioned. And I think at the end of the day, that's kind of where we got that. There was nothing that said there was no budget item for that, I believe, that year. It went from 100,000 in 21 to nothing in 2022 until September when the change happened. So there's about $180,000 in Sprayfield items that is still on the books. My understanding, it is just really an accounting issue. There's all the bills have been paid. But what I'd like the board to consider is just, and I'll make a motion if necessary. Well, I will make a motion to remove that $180,000 and use it as spray-field expenses, however we need to capitalize or whatever for the club at Hidden Creek, and then remove that due pay and due to, and then it lines up. Now, just throwing that out there, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and do that so that the auditing lines are as true as we can make them.
But the number is 277, which is 21,000 of that occurred in '23.
Well, because 87,000 was actually approved from September onwards. So we're talking about what wasn't approved by the 2022 board, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Barber.
You're correct on the 87, that's board approved, but it's still setting in the due from the golf course.
Right.
So you would still need to do something with a total 277, or it's just gonna be setting there.
So what's the difference then? Because from September of that year, everything should have happened, right? Or it's how we paid for it. The water system paid versus Hidden Creek paid.
Right, the total 255 plus the 21 from 2023, all of that was an audit adjustment because of the way it was being paid.
Right.
So it would all have to be adjusted off of Holly Navarre books, reported to the golf course books. And when it was taken off of Holly Navarre books, it was put in due from the golf course.
So it's showing as an account receivable to Holly Navarre Water System, or
Yes.
in effect?
Yes.
And we validated, more importantly, staff has validated, these are all valid spray field expenses. There was nothing untoward, they didn't buy new golf carts or anything with that.
Correct.
Okay. So what is the amount
See,
that,
the motion in September when the board passed, that was to finally institutionalize, because there's been a lot of back and forth where we really being reimbursed for things that were not spray field. And so that was to institutionalize what we considered a spray field expense that Holly Navarre would reimburse for.
Yes. It's just on the accounting side of it, it was not recorded properly.
got it.
So now we would just be.
So is it the
adjusting
full 255? Is that what the motion needs to be?
277.
off 277.
Okay.
Two separate ones. Okay? I mean,
What
here's
am I not understanding, Daryl?
In February of last year, myself and Director Dabney started asking questions about why Holly Navarre Water System was writing checks for the golf course expenses. There was never any amount budgeted from this board to pay for golf course expenses. As a matter of fact, it was pretty public in October, November of the prior year when the board told the membership that Holly Navarre Water System would no longer be spending any money on golf course expenses. We weren't going to subsidize them anymore. And we just started writing checks. And when we started asking, everybody said we were wrong. And it went on the whole year like that. Everybody telling us that we were wrong. We didn't know what we were talking about. And it took until the auditors came in and told everybody that y'all were wrong before we actually did something about it. But the $277,000 should not be one single motion, because $180,000 was never approved by the board. It was just spent by people who did not have the authority to spend the money. It was a misappropriation of funds from Holly Navarre Water System to the golf course. And that's what we need to discuss. I think that the amount between 180 and 277, yes, we had a discussion in September and we decided that those were expenses that Holly Navarre Water System was going to pay. Even though we paid them, even though in prior years it was $10,000 a month. And at the end of 2021, we told all the members that the people at the golf course said, we don't need the money anymore. The golf course was current on all its bills.
That's not what was said.
That's not
Said-
But
What was said is
here's the thing,
we
there's
weren't going to give a
$180,000
subsidy anymore. The only thing we wanted to discuss was spray field expenses.
So we didn't want to call it a subsidy
Correct.
anymore. We just wanted to give them money.
Nope.
I understand the difference.
That's what we've been doing, is
Completely.
giving
We
them
didn't
money.
ask for just giving us money. That's what you
But
did for the
that
10
did.
years prior.
That's what happened.
You and the
though, wasn't
previous
it?
board
So the
mismanaged everything.
So the $277,000 did not come from Holly Navarre Water System and go into the club at Hidden Creek. Is that what you're saying right now?
No, I'm saying you know it did.
Okay, so it did go in there then.
Correct.
So,
But it went to
but
pay
it was
valid
never
Sprayfield
approved by this
expenses.
board. Going forward, it was approved. All the past discretions were not approved by the board of directors in September. That's the money that needs to be returned to the members of Holly Navarre Water System. You've got $650,000 in the club at Hidden Creek's checking account. That money came from Holly Navarre Water System. It didn't come from the golf course making or breaking even every year. So I think that money needs to be returned.
So the money needs to be returned if it wasn't for Sprayfield expenses.
No,
what
it
was
needs to be
being talked
returned
about.
because it was never approved by the board of directors.
Well,
And
and this
we
is
can
where the
change that
disconnect
today.
is, Daryl. This is where you're disingenuous.
Where?
Because it was actually approved by the board of Hidden Creek as expenses. And the expense, hang on, let me finish, right? And so it's always been for unbudgeted items, so that was on there. Now, those people, that person is no longer with us. So I'm trying to correct the books, right? So if it's a Sprayfield expense, which in 2017, this board, which I wasn't on, gave $597,000. In 2018, they gave $904,000.
It's
2019,
over 8
$200,000.
million. You can tell.
Right, no, I got
how
it.
much was.
But in 2021, we were down to $100,000. So, because,
And now we're back up
so
to
now we've
180.
done a survey that says it would cost members $314,000 if we shut down golf course operations, right? That's what our staff, the experts have said. So add
I think
Sprayfield
you put words
expenses.
into their mouth, but go ahead.
Well, I'm
the
not
number
putting,
they gave.
that was the number we
That was
got.
the number we got.
So all I'm trying to do is correct the books and the line items, so Miss Barbara and her staff don't have to see this number out there. So
So-
my motion is to correct the books and for the Sprayfield items that were paid for by Holly Navarre Water, that we write that off and say those were valid Sprayfield expenses. That's my motion.
I second that motion.
You said one thing just now that I want to clear up. You said that the board of directors at the club at Hidden Creek agreed that those were expenses.
No,
that Holly
sir.
Navarre
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
No. They had a budget that covered Sprayfield expenses. In the previous boards, that was how the budget was, and then if there was a budgeted item,
This
it was paid for. No,
This
the
board
previous
did
board.
that. This board. There never was a board out there at the club at Hidden Creek.
Yes, there was a board of
This
managers. There was
board of directors was that.
there was a legal board of managers that the lawyer has already said had the authority. That no longer exists. Mark this year said this board should approve those budgets. I agree with that.
Okay.
So now we're on track as it should be. So that's my motion. Want to clear the decks and move forward.
My discussion is the $180,000 belongs to the members of Holly Navarre, for the members of Holly Navarre Water System, and it should be returned.
Barbara, do you have any input on this?
I see both sides of it, I really do. The point with Daryl's point is there's $180,000 that was not board approved. If you take cash from the golf course, yes, I understand that the golf course gained that because they didn't pay those bills. I get all of that. I also very respectfully agree with Joe just to wipe it clean and move on. You know, so I see both sides of it. I really do. It's a lot easier to just wipe it clean and move on.
Well, as long as they
Probably
were.
the right thing,
No.
probably the right thing is to write the $180,000 check. I mean, they
So-
would have spent it either way,
So why is that the right thing?
because they would have spent it either way, either way,
And then been reimbursed?
but it would have been the right way.
Understand that?
And
That's the right
Approved.
the
way.
board
way.
hadn't approved Holly Navarre Water spending that 180,000, or was that
That's Daryl's
177, or was it 180?
180,000.
180? Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah. There's a motion and a
Because
second.
that's one thing, if we're going to call that Sprayfield expenditures, we need to, the board's gonna need to make a motion to pay those expenditures because the board never did.
Wasn't that
This
my
board,
motion?
this board of directors has never authorized any expenditures at the club at Hidden Creek between January 1 of 2022 and September whenever of 2020.
Right, when I was in the seat and we made the motion to make it,
Finally
I
did.
got that.
Yeah, so all that money that was spent during that time period was never approved by the board of directors.
I'm
To this
kind
day.
of the opinion that, you know, the right thing to do would be for Hidden Creek to reimburse the $180,000 that was not approved to be spent, and the remainder of that to be written off. That's my opinion on it.
Not written off,
I
it's
mean, well,
correctly
Just be
accounted for on
moved.
the
It would be
book.
moved to
To
investment.
expenses.
right.
Right.
The only point I have is that even with that $180,000, had the board at the time approved that, and this was all done by our previous CEO, writing checks, and
And the members of.
had the board known that those were valid Sprayfield expenses, would they approve being reimbursed for those? And I maintain that the board would have approved being reimbursed for those valid Sprayfield expenses.
You may be right, but that wasn't the way it
Yeah,
happened, so I'm kind of the opinion we've got to fix that. Other board discussion? Mr. Cosby?
Kurt Cosby, do you guys have a process, if and when golf course is making money, the Club at Hidden Creek and golf course is making money, do you have a set process of how you return the money back to the membership?
Absolutely, now we do. 2023, we have a clear direction. We have the motion from September 22 that's been discussed. That's how we've been operating in 23. And that there's no confusion on that.
Okay, and.
This is all 2022 essentially.
Right, and so, like Mr. Lynch just said, he's saying there's, $675,000 in the bank account at the Club in Hidden Creek? What is your process to, what threshold does that money have to get to where you start, and what time frame does your process bring it back to the membership?
Well, I think that's what the board's discussing.
So it'll be a board decision when it becomes a number that y'all want to deal with. Is that what you're saying? That's the process?
Motion, the motion from 2022 didn't include anything. It didn't address money
No,
coming back.
it was just expenses.
So you really don't have a process. You have a process when it becomes an issue and you start bringing up heavy numbers, and then the board acts on it. That's really the process, correct? That's the process you guys use.
We've never had that problem in the past.
Never made money.
It's never made a problem.
Okay, so.
They've always
All right,
get
so
made.
now y'all are admitting that the golf course has never made money. Is that what I'm
Last 2
hearing?
years.
I've been admitting it since I've been on the board of directors.
Okay, well, that's the first time I've heard that, after coming here for what, almost 18 months? First time I've heard. No, I mean, as a board, y'all are now saying the golf course does not make any money.
Right, but you understand.
The board's not saying that. I, for one, am not saying that for this year. The previous years, while they gave $8 million of the members' money to the golf course, I can't address that because I wasn't on the board.
Okay.
For most of those years, I wasn't even here.
And that's the reason I've come up here every other month at some time and keep asking, just give us a breakdown of what the loss and profit statement. I just want to know what we're making. Y'all can do it monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, I don't care, but the membership needs to know.
We've been
where-
reporting
where-
that for this year, every quarter. He's been reporting what the status of the club is.
I've never heard it.
And it's in our monthly
It's in our monthly
financials.
financials.
As
Okay,
well.
well, when I come up here and ask, I can take a general number, just like Mr. Lynch had said. Right now, he's saying there's $675,000.
Well, I'm gonna call him on that, because I don't know where the, I'm looking,
650, it's $596,067.
In the checking account.
It fluctuates.
Yeah, plus
It fluctuates.
$63,213.99, which comes up to about $650,000.
I see 96,000 in operating and 63 in capital. The rest is assets. Where am I not looking?
Okay, wait a minute, you're missing, it's 596, right? Or am I reading, no, it's 596.
Got it.
It
But
would
that's
just
an
be-
operating.
Yeah,
Okay.
But we're going, and we're
all I'm
going cash.
saying is it would just be nice for a process and that during, you know, I don't even, the membership probably be good with a quarterly report. That's all I'm asking for. We never talk about this when it comes to Messi, which is a profit-making business. But this golf course thing keeps coming up, and all y'all are doing is begging more questions. That's why I'm coming to the
Yeah.
podium.
And Messi has $1 million in there.
And I wouldn't even,
Checking account.
my point
Big
is,
pad.
we never have those
Well,
questions
we
about
still
that.
got $700.
But this always seems, because, I'm just gonna say it like it is, you guys aren't being transparent. You need to be
Oh,
transparent.
I
with
think
it.
we're being very,
I think
I
we-
think this board has been the most transparent that I've been in this community. And that's exactly the way we want to keep it. We want to put everything out there, everything we talk about, we put on the website. The audit, the forensic audit, everything we've thrown out there. So I disagree.
Yeah, I'm talking about this specific subject.
Which is why I'm trying to clear the books.
Right.
And if it keeps going like it is, we'll be able to talk about, can the golf course give the water system back money?
Okay.
Right now, we're saving half of Sprayfield expenses. If we can get to the point where we can do that and not lose operating capital to pay employees and all that. So yeah, since I've been around, 10 years in there, we've been, golf course, we've never been able to do that.
And in this budgeting process for this year, there also, we talked about having a emergency/contingency set-aside fund for hauling of our water system. We also need one for the golf course. You get a hurricane, last time we had a big one that closed for 3 months,
Yeah.
somebody's gotta pay the bills.
I'm just saying.
So that's where, at $600,000 will be gone in 3 months.
I stand corrected. I'm talking about the golf, most of the time I come up
Right.
here, it's about the club at Hidden Creek and the golf course.
It's a never-ending
And-
circle.
And,
So, 'cause
let's fix it.
well, you have here's the thing, in the past, Holly Bar Water System, and again, this is my first year on the board, but they've always paid for the spray field expenses. And in the past, they've paid more than just the spray field expenses. So we're at the point now where we're not spending as much as they estimated that it would cost us if we didn't have a golf course out there. It cost us $300 and something thousand. We're not spending that much, and we're trying to get to the point where we don't have to spend anything from hauling of our water to the golf course. Hopefully, at some point, the golf course can make money, then we can start funneling that money back into the community and the members. But I think that's the big problem, is it's a big circle. You talk about the spray field expenses, and then you talk about helping the golf course, and you know.
And I'll leave you with this. The membership has a right to know
Absolutely.
exactly what's
Absolutely.
going on. That's all, that's
Absolutely.
the whole thing. Okay.
Just to David and Kurt together, I think Kurt was asking for financial statements on the club at Hidden Creek.
On the club, okay.
So
Which is a
he's right.
Yeah.
They don't put any of that stuff
Yeah.
out. I think we should, but we don't. And
Because it's
so
a
that's,
for-profit
so whenever
business.
you're talking about transparency, he says we're not being transparent on the club at Hidden Creek,
Right.
and he is 100% correct. Because we don't give anybody any information
But
on
we
that.
do.
Just like we
On
don't
our
give
budget,
Messi,
we
just
do-
like we don't give Messi because there's a competition.
No, but we do put on our financials the money that we've spent on the
Yes.
golf course.
Yes.
Directors know,
So
that's a true
at
statement.
least that part of it's transparent.
And it'll be on the budget, right, Jeff?
Yes.
But my point even with the money that, the $255,000, were there not a golf course operation last year, there would have been 314. So even in 2022, even if you forgive the $180,000 and quit quibbling over the mechanics of it, that we return to the hauling of our water system, basically, we saved them $80,000 in cost, or $65,000 in cost avoidance by having the golf course on there. Because the golf course picked up, taking care of the cutting and the mowing and the maintenance of the spray field and all that. That's all.
Can we make a motion to clear the books and then have a discussion on the $180,000 at a different time?
So I thought we had a motion to clear.
The motion is to.
What is the motion?
The motion is to clear the books and call that an investment in the club.
Right.
And then second. And it was
There's a
seconded.
motion and a second. And I'm personally not in favor of doing that. I would rather see us have the 180,000 get reimbursed to the club, but that'll just be my vote out of 7.
No,
No, two
I
of
mean,
them.
no, third, 3. If they need the money, they'll get it back.
Yeah. You'll write a check.
call the
We'll
vote.
do it the right
All
way.
right, I'm going to call the vote.
Yep.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
We have,
The motion was to make the money go away and not reimburse hauling of our water system.
Correct.
So,
right. to
I-
Transferred on the
So-
balance sheet.
yes.
For,
So I'm
for
against
valid,
that.
for valid spray field expenses.
All right, can we have a show of hands of the ayes?
Okay, well, can we slow down? Because Mark, you just said, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong here. You just said that you thought that Hauling of our, or that the Club at Hidden Creek should pay the $180,000 back, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you just voted for that not to
I
happen.
did not vote aye.
Oh, okay, you didn't vote aye. Okay.
Who all voted aye?
I thought everybody voted aye.
No.
No, okay, There we go.
Don, you voted aye,
yes.
and Bill and Joe.
All right, nays.
Only 3 nays.
Nay.
We have 4 nays.
So I make a motion that the Club at Hidden Creek or write a check to hauling of our water system for, if I can find the amount.
177.
Where was that page at?
Back, right in front of tab 3,
And we still have.
Right in front of tab 3.
The rest of it.
2 pages back.
227 to deal with.
$180,266.51.
Say that number again.
I make a motion that the Club at Hidden Creek write a check to Hauling of our water system for $180,266.51 to repay the expenditures from January 1, 2022 through September 20th, 2022, which were not approved by this board of directors.
Can you add to your motion the remainder of the money
Yeah.
in that account?
Yeah, we can say that the remaining, whatever remains in that account be transferred to, be considered an investment.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
All right, I got a discussion. So Darrell, what is the difference when you were on this board and gave $500,000, $904,000, and $230,000 to the club, yet you can't clear the book for this? I just want to know,
Because
what's the
I
difference
told-
now?
Because I told the members how much we were spending. The members actually got to see the money that we were spending. Back then, we actually did give financial statements to them to show them where the golf course was making or losing money.
Losing money.
Was losing money, yeah.
Losing.
And I've consistently told everybody that it was losing money for years and years and years. Now,
We used to
I
get
don't-
accounting every meeting of the golf course.
that's right, we did.
But it wasn't showing.
I don't have a particular
They were
problem
showing
with
you
the
the
money
issues
that goes
with
to the
them.
golf course. What I have a problem with is when the board of directors tells the membership that it's not gonna do something, and then it does it anyways. And that's what we're trying to correct tonight,
Got
is
it.
where the board of directors told the
No,
membership.
no, no, this board of
that-
directors, Joe Campbell did not tell
Well, you
anybody.
were on the board, so, anyways, so
That's my discussion.
All right.
So I got a couple of questions. One, what's the excess funds you're talking about? Be considered an investment?
The 80, but here's what happened, what happened was after we voted
Yep.
that night, Hauling of our water system continued to write checks, even though I believe at some point they told the board of directors, we're not writing checks anymore. They weren't exactly telling the truth. So the money kept going into that account because checks kept coming from Hauling of our water system and not the Club at Hidden Creek. That's where that money comes from.
And we're doing what, we're considering that an investment?
Yeah, we're gonna, well, those expenditures were approved by the board of directors.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So they should,
Fine,
so,
I'm good with that answer. So 180 So what's the check number?
$180,266.51.
That's going to balance the books as far as you're concerned, Barbara? Are we done and over?
180 plus
Plus
the remainder
that
would
gets
be
to
moved
227.
out and put in investment.
So a 180 check from the club to Holly and the Bar, and the other is going to be considered an investment and moved over
On the balance sheet.
on the balance sheet.
That's correct.
And we're square.
We're square.
Okay.
All right, so the 87 from September to December, we're good,
Correct.
because the board voted. The 180, because that was the 2022, that wasn't before the board voted.
Correct.
That's what we're talking. Where is the remainder, the other 20 some
That's in
odd?
2023.
That's the beginning, January and February of '23.
Right, but the board had, that was already an
Part of the
approved
169.
board thing, so you don't have to wipe that.
We're going to wipe it. It's the same as the 87.
Yeah.
Got
It's in addition to the 87 approved.
it, okay. But at the time, if I remember correctly, our accountants said that it didn't matter whether Holly Navarre Water paid it or Hidden Creek paid it, we could do it that way, and then it was turned around and said, well, this is the way you really should put it. Water system should give Hidden Creek money and then they pay it.
That's correct.
They didn't say anything was wrong with doing it the other way, they just said county
No,
best
all of our
practices.
water can give the golf course the money.
Right,
As long as it's approved.
yeah, got it, okay.
Just can't pay their bills directly.
Right.
Any other
Yeah.
discussion?
Just so clear, the auditors, our auditors said we can't do it that way. But our in-house accountant said it was okay.
The auditors had told us.
Just wanted to clear that up.
You asked.
No, I know.
All right, I'm gonna call the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions?
Nay.
Nay?
We have 2 nays, motion carries. Okay,
That's all
anything
I have.
else on
Nope.
budget OEM?
That's all I have for budget.
All right, Santa Rosa Regional Reuse Project. Like to announce that we have a groundbreaking for Phase 1, the construction of the ribs, on December 8th. So we're going to have a kind of a press event out there, and the actual shovels going into the ground. I think the real heavy lifting on the project won't happen until next year, but you know, we're going to go ahead and get it underway with the groundbreaking on December 8th, so that's a very positive thing. Phase 2 of the project is the transmission lines and the acquisition of the property needed. I'm going to defer to Will for an update on that.
Where's the groundbreaking?
Where is the groundbreaking?
It's at the project site,
Yeah.
off of 87. They do
On
have
Eglin
some,
itself.
they are mulching out there, they are doing some clearing / mulching, so there is progress. They've just recently.
Just wondered if we were invited.
We
Should have been.
You got an invite, didn't you? Can we
Probably with my-
resend that invite, because I didn't get the initial?
Probably with my Christmas card.
I didn't get it either. I think it's with your Christmas bonus.
Yeah.
I didn't get the initial invite, but
You
then I
guys got your hard
a
hats?
revised invite or something, so, anyway.
It's coming through the post office, so we'll give it a few weeks.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, our months. Mr. Dunaway.
Thank you. With regards to the acquisition of the right-of-way, there are 10 permanent easements and 7 temporary easements that are required for this public purpose project. Those are subject to an order of taking notice that will be heard before Judge Duncan on Monday, the 27th at 9 a.m. We've been successful in executing voluntary closings of 40% of the permanent easements and 15% of the temporary easements prior to the hearing. We believe the others will be accomplished again next week following that order of taking. So we're in good shape there. There is a line item, a discussion item number 8, which we'll talk about the updated appraisals when you get to that point. But otherwise, we're in good shape with regard to that issue. There is one easement that is necessary from the Florida Power and Light. It is the last remaining easement. It is not part of the order of taking, but we've been in negotiation with Florida Power and Light, and we discussed that in your special board meeting, and I believe there's a motion to be made for direction to staff to proceed.
Yeah, we need an appraisal of that easement so that that will assist us in our negotiation with Florida Power and Light. So looking for a motion to authorize an appraisal of that parcel.
So
an
moved.
easement on that parcel.
Second.
We have a motion and a
Second.
second. Any discussion on that?
Yes.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I disagree that we need an appraisal to go forward with the negotiations. They're already in work. We don't need anything at the time being. And I think it's a possible waste of money, even if it's a couple $1,000s, a waste of our members' money if we do something we don't have to yet.
How do you negotiate a price if you don't know what it's worth?
So how much can I say out here in public? We know what our goal is. Am I allowed to say that? Well, what our goal is?
Yeah.
Our goal is that they grant us that easement. That's been the goal. That's why it was not part of the taking. That's why it was never appraised to begin with. That has always been the goal and the expectation even of the county and our attorneys that they would grant that easement. Their first salvo out of the gate is, no. Well, I don't want to react to their first salvo. We've got time. My understanding, we have time. Why spend anything now if that's still our goal? Tell me that's not our goal now, and that's a different story. But my understanding is our goal is still, they will grant us that easement, whether you want to call it for goodwill, or it's another utility helping another utility. You know, pat our back, we'll pat your back someday. I don't care how you phrase it. If we still want them to grant it, I'm not interested in spending any money until they put their heels in the dirt and our negotiators say, we can't get them off that line. That's my 2 cents.
William, from what we discussed, it sounds like they've pretty much put their heels in the dirt at this point, correct? With the number that they threw out at us? And,
But they invited a counter.
okay, but they're not gonna say.
They did
"Here,
not
you can
provide
have
us
it."
an appraisal or
Right.
any justification.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Well, I just thought this, the cost of the appraisal is within the CEO's spending limit, and we could give direction to staff that if the appraisal is needed, in other words, if the negotiation stalls out, the CEO could move forward with getting it appraised, as opposed to going ahead and saying, let's go ahead and order an appraisal tonight. Is that an option, or do we want to just move forward and get it appraised and spend the money?
So what's a reasonable time before Christmas to give the county to talk to Florida Power and Light, and then we move, or?
Well, the meeting with, between the county and Florida Power and Light has occurred. We just don't know what the results of that are, because we didn't get feedback today. So I don't know what the results of that discussion. They were leading that, so we're waiting on that coming back. What we know is that they offered us, for the easement, they asked for a set number. We asked for an appraisal from them to justify that number, and they said it was based on market value, which they did not have an appraisal. We didn't order an appraisal because, again, we anticipated and believed that easement was going to be forthcoming. And again, when I say we, I'm talking about the county, because again, this right-of-way acquisition is a county action. We're kind of their agent. We, being Holly Navarre Water Board, is acting as their agent in that regard.
And we've got literally time to, say, the end of the year is when we kind of get to where we have to have this to proceed with the bids and everything?
I would say we would have that time, yes.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to allow the CEO to spend the appraisal money given up to the end of the year. If there's no movement with the negotiation, to spend the money, so then we can make because we're going to have to come back and fund it anyhow, right? So I'm kind of wanting to give the CEO that opportunity that if we need to, if there's no movement by the end of the year, to go ahead and get the appraisal and move forward.
And I would expect we would possibly know the need for the easement by probably next week sometime. We just haven't heard the outcome of that meeting.
Correct.
Right. We have
No-
an
no
amended
hurry, right?
motion, do we have an amended
Second.
second? We have an amended second.
So what was the motion again?
Yeah.
Or what's the amended motion?
It's to authorize the CEO to order the appraisal if the
Negotiations break down.
Yeah, if it's deemed necessary, I'm good with that.
I'm good with that too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did you get an amended second?
we did.
Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. Thank y'all for that. Club at Hidden Creek Management Board, Mr. Krieger.
Yes, thank you. So on last Thursday, the club hosted the company luncheon. The event was a success, allowed all our employees to enjoy our new event space. We had a management board meeting last Wednesday and went over the budget. As mentioned earlier, that budget will be presented at the budget workshop, and you'll receive an advanced copy of it on the 29th. Another item we're working on out there is we are looking at doing a procurement for the golf cart lease. That is up in November of '24, and we have to start working on that in advance to get that in place and ready for the potential change out. So that'll be a kind of a public solicitation in adherence with our procurement policy. And then lastly, I'll just go over real quick the numbers from last month. On the income statement, we did have, so year-to-date, net revenue, $226,000, and the monthly number for that period was, this is for September, was $13,683, so that's just a kind of a real brief overview. But once again, it has been a successful year for the club. They've done real well on their on the revenue side, and also continue to get really good feedback on the condition of the course.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Krieger?
How are we doing on compared to the board is approved up to 169.9?
Yeah, so what we have in the
Springfield expenses?
right. So what we have in this packet is through September, and that's at 150.
Okay, so we're for sure gonna exceed that because the taxes come due in order to pay them
Right,
early
and
to save.
right.
Save 2,000, about 2,500
And we know we have a few more months of FPL bills, that alone will probably get us there. So we'll be discussing.
So we're gonna have to come forward and decide whether we're gonna reimburse more than the 169.
Correct, and that's on the, property taxes are at the back of the agenda here.
Okay.
All right, moving on to Fairpoint, Mr. Krieger.
Fairpoint, really the main update there is also work on the 2024 budget. As you all know, there is no December Fairpoint meeting. And recently the Fairpoint board changed their, their operating procedure such that we would approve the budget by the end of the year. So we'll be approving that budget Tuesday after Thanksgiving for 2024 for Fairpoint.
Are they increasing our water rates? If they approve the budget you've seen?
No, because we're keeping the same, yeah.
Cool, thank you.
No rate increase.
That's very good.
All right, Phil Phillips isn't here. Does someone want to cover municipal engineering?
Yes, I will. So we are having a municipal board meeting on Monday, the 27th, right after Thanksgiving, and that will also be to talk about the budget for Messy, which will, of course, be also talked about at the December 7th workshop.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Cosby, is this regarding this agenda item?
No, can I back up to the spray field expenses? Just a real quick question.
Sure.
Okay. Do those expenses, is that from the ponds on Hidden Creek to the spray field, or is that include all the way back?
So the,
to the unit here.
what the motion from September of 22 included was any cost related to the pump house,
Okay,
materials cost for the spray field, labor would be paid for by the Club of Hidden Creek, power, and the real estate taxes. Those items in 2022 totaled $169,000.
okay. Thank you.
But in the big picture, from the pond at 7 onward, not the transmission line, that's covered by Hollywood Water.
Okay.
That's correct.
And yes, and that was really part of my question, but that makes sense.
Okay, that's all of our committee updates. Defined benefit pension payment, Mr. Prigler?
Yes, so as the board will recall, we made the 2022 payment this year. I believe that was this summer, and we still have a 2023 contribution to make. So based on feedback from our actuary, that would be $222,000, $222,107. And that would be for our 2023 payment to keep the plan funded at an 80% level.
Now, this says 2023 and 24. Is that a misprint?
No, so let me discuss 2024. The pension committee, we did talk about 2024. That will also be the subject when we go over the budget. You'll see the line item that we're putting in for 2024. That was also discussed at the committee meeting. So when we say discuss payments for the remainder of 23 and 24, we're recommending make the 23 payment, and then we talked about what to budget for 2024, and you'll see that number in the workshop.
But that is just, from the pension committee, that's just the best guess from the actuary. We will get the real number from the actuary in March. We will get it till March, right?
Right, and that's at the 80%, but and he took into account that the last few that have retired have taken the full boat and
Yeah.
not, okay.
Yes.
That's all right, thanks.
Okay, staff's recommendation is that we approve the pension payment of $222,000.
I make a motion to approve the recommendation of the $222,000 payable by the end of this fiscal year, or end of the calendar year.
Second.
All right. My discussion would be, if we're going to pay it, does it make sense to pay it as soon as possible? You know, just to start earning interest on it, or, you know.
Now, they're going to invest it, so whether,
Yeah, we don't know if it's
can
going
you
to
tell
go
me
up or
what your
go
crystal
down.
ball's
Yeah,
going to do
I don't
between
know.
now and the end of December?
I don't know. It's been going down, but, you know, what's the timing of making this payment?
You actually have until September of 24 to make the 23 payment, which is a source of confusion. In his cover letter for his report from May, he does state that it's probably worth just reading this paragraph. A minimum required contribution exists for 2023 and must be made no later than September 15th of 24. But likely will need to be made by March 31st of 2024 in order to maintain the 80% funding level. It's possible that a contribution greater than the minimum will need to be made in order to maintain the 80% funded level, but that won't be known until the value of the assets are known on December 31st of this year. The 2024 valuation should be completed as soon as feasible in 2024.
But if we vote on it now, it comes out of this budget, not next year's, right?
Correct.
And just sits there.
And we're budgeting a separate amount for, a higher amount for 24, which you'll see, like I said, in the budget workshop.
Okay, but the motion is to pay it before the end of the year.
Yep.
Yeah.
A motion and
Any
second.
other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, we have a need for chlorine, and we have a bid award that we need to discuss, Mr. Prigler.
Yeah, so a little bit of background on why we did this. Our purchasing policy addresses how we should handle recurring expenses that are over my spending threshold. And if those recurring expenses on an annual basis are over that threshold, we should do a solicitation for that. And that's what we're attempting to do. Our procurement staff have compiled what our largest recurring expenses are. Chlorine was the highest one on a monthly basis. And I'm not talking about payroll. I'm talking about things that we buy from vendors. After that, it's sludge hauling, and after that, it was our lab sampling for all the testing we do on the water and wastewater side. So we're gonna slowly be addressing these, but these documents take time to put together. We have done the chlorine one, we opened the bids, and we did get 3 bids on this. Mobile Solvent was the low bidder, and we actually got a price that is per cylinder less than what we're paying now, just by a slight amount. So we feel this is a really good bid, and this will give us set pricing for the year, and we have 2 one-year options to renew this contract. There are provisions for them to come to us and say they've had a price increase, but depending on the amount, that would require board approval. So in the past, they've just sent us a price increase and we just pay it. So we're trying to clean that up and really be, transparent going forward like we talked about.
Okay, staff's recommendation is to award Mobile Solvent the bid for the annual contract in the amount of $123,750.
I'll make a motion to award Mobile Solvent the bid.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Nays or abstention? Motion carries. Emergency response plan, Mr. Krigler.
Yes, is really on here as much of an update as anything else. We really want to get this kind of approved for kind of content and format. This is really a living document. We've replaced the names and contacts up front. We still got some kind of old names in the back, unfortunately, but the on-call list is continually updated with the names. But yeah, essentially this is a document that we have to maintain for basically, hurricanes are a big, a big risk to us. So that's one area where we would really utilize a document like this. So just to once again get this approved for content and format. And it's a living document. It always changes with staff coming and going. So
Is the only thing that changed in there staff coming and going, or were there any other changes?
there was probably some minor changes. We moved a lot back into appendices. For instance, all these SOPs are appendices, but the majority was contacts.
I was going to say, it's not just an emergency response, it's actually an SOP.
Yeah.
The SOPs are part of it, yeah.
Yeah, SOPs are part of it.
So the only thing the grinder thing hit me in the face. And maybe it's just me, but we go to a place, we look at the grinder, and then we decide whether it's the one we stole or responsible for or not. Is that backwards? Or did I misread that? Or is there a reason we would go out to somebody? Is that a customer service thing for customers if it's backed up and we're going to use the pump truck to get rid of their overflow and then decide?
We typically wouldn't use a pump truck to.
Sorry, yeah, I just want to drive that thing, so.
So
that's why I
what'd
keep-
you say, Clinton?
We typically would not use a pump truck to go clean out somebody's grinder.
Oh.
Right, but the SOP says we're going to do the grinder and then we're going to decide
So
whether.
we have to make sure that it's not a problem on our end that's causing the issue
Okay,
for the
all right.
customer.
Uh,
And so once we assess that, then we'll let the customer know, it's call a plumber or.
So I was just reading too much into it.
Correct.
Any other comments on the emergency response plan? I think it's a very thorough document and has a lot of good operating procedures in it.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is that I think as the things click off, like you got the, 72 hours prior to a hurricane arrival and whatever, when you meet, you need to make sure that you got the current list of POCs there, because there's several names in this of people that have no longer been with us for a long time. So-
That part of it wasn't supposed to make it in this.
I mean, it's tough to keep it up to date. It's tough to keep it up to date.
Yeah.
But maybe if you put in the plan, I don't know, I don't tell suck eggs, but the position that's responsible for that line item.
Position and then the names
names
would
in
be
the
like
back
an
as an
attachment that
attachment.
you update. That'd be one way.
Yeah. Good suggestion. All right, we need a motion to approve this emergency response plan as submitted.
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency response plan.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. The 2024 holiday schedule, Mr. Krigler.
Yes, so this is, I guess, just an annual requirement at this time of year. This is the holiday list that you have in your packet that was discussed at the workshop we had for revision of the employee manual. So we haven't changed that, and it mirrors the holidays that we had in 2023.
Okay, we're looking for an approval of the 2024 holiday list.
So I move we approve the 2024 holiday list as provided.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstention? Motion carries. Let's see, Santa Rosa Regional Reuse Project, Mr. Krigler?
Yes, so the original appraisals for the properties that Will were discussing earlier, the properties that are part of the taking action, those appraisals were done over a year ago. Now that time has passed and we're getting to our critical point here, they need to be updated. We have our appraiser has given us a quote to do that, and we need an additional escrowed payment of $13,800 for the new appraisals.
Mr. Krieger.
Well, I should say, this is the amount of the takings.
Correct. So,
Based on the reappraisals, I said that.
right, this board earlier approved the update appraisal. Those updated appraisals were completed, and as a result of those updates, the amount of the total 17 easements, again, that's 10 permanent easements and 7 temporary easements, the value of those easements went up a total of $13,800. So again, a critical component that we will be having to show the judge as part of the taking on Monday is the fair market value of these easements. This is based on this most updated appraisal, and then the process of that is to deposit this monies along with the monies that this board previously approved of $119,400, making the total of the easements that are being acquired $133,200. So the action that's necessary tonight is the approval of the additional 13.8 so that those monies can be transferred and deposited to the registry of the court.
I move to approve the additional $13,800 in appraisal escrow account deposit to Santa Rosa County.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. All right, 2023 Club at Hidden Creek property taxes, Mr. Krigler.
Yes, so the amount of these property taxes are over my spending limit, so we wanted to get board approval for that. We also want to pay these now versus later because you get a discount for paying them now, so we would like to do that. And I would also add as part of this item that we're not requesting reimbursement from Holly Navarre at this time, that the club would pay these. And that was before all that earlier discussion, so that, they may want to change that, but that's what we had this written, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so the recommendation is to approve the Club at Hidden Creek to pay the 2023 property taxes in the amount of $38,909.38 prior to November 30th of this year.
And they are not asking for reimbursement at this time.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
They should pay their own property taxes.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Don't feel sorry for them now.
Okay, we have a motion and a
Can we
second.
have a quick discussion about this? Because I'll vote for it if it needs to be, but these real estate taxes were budgeted for. I know the it's in excess of $25,000, but the $38,000, I'm going to say it was closer to 40 that was budgeted for real estate taxes. Whenever we've got an item, especially a single item like this, in other words, Jeff isn't going to write a check to the Okaloosa property appraiser's office for our real estate taxes. He can only pay Santa Rosa County. I don't think that this is something that the board should vote on, except for when we vote on a budget.
But that goes against what you just said about budgeted items. That's
No,
why.
no, I mean, they have been budgeted. The items we were talking about before were never budgeted, okay? It was, the $180,000 was not on the budget anywhere.
It was on the Hidden Creek budget, but
Yeah, but
Got
not
it.
hauling of our water systems.
And that's one of the
So-
things we want to clear up when we rewrite the purchasing
And-
policy, is clear up that with the conflict.
And in addition to that, just to be clear, the Club at Hidden Creek's budget was approved by this board in 20, for the 2023 year. For the 2022 year, this board of directors never approved that budget. You can go back and look at the records on that one. It was never approved.
So if we can get away from the Club at Hidden Creek for a minute, I'll chime in. I would have bet dollars and donuts, Darrell, that in the past you've said, if it's over the CEO spending limit, I don't care if it's budgeted, it should come to the board and be approved. So if we're gonna fix that with the updated policy, that's fine.
If that's the
just-
intent. Just so I'm clear, whenever they write our mortgage payment for $180,000 a month, that's gotta come before this board every time they write that check.
I think we need to stick
Right.
with unbudgeted.
I'm saying that's what I would have thought you had said in the past, if it's
Yeah.
over 25.
Yeah, no, I said it was over 20. If it's over, if it's a budgeted item, then it does not need to come to the board, especially for something like this. I'm fine with that.
It's
I'm
not just in
saying
the
that's
purchase, this
not
is
what I
a
would have thought
budgeted
it said.
expense.
Yeah. If
I'm
it's,
fine. I'm
yeah,
fine.
if it's something out of the ordinary, you know, then it's different, but. Anyways, we can vote or not vote.
Well, I think the good news is that it's $40,000 that won't be coming out of Hauling of Our Water Systems account, and might allow for a little additional, some of the increase in the spray field expenses that we didn't have.
So maybe it's not coming out of the hauling of our water system accounts, but it is coming out of one of our members' accounts. Got to keep that in mind. Members own that club.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so let's, I'm tired of making the differentiation between hauling of ours owned by the members, but we seem to think the club's not and Messy's not. It's all our members' money. Okay, so we're gonna pay it, we're just paying it from one company versus another, appropriately. So,
Okay. I'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? Motion carries. Engineering, who wants to cover engineering?
I'll take care of that. Should be short and sweet. There's not a lot happened other than the real clearing has started. Equipment is up there on the grounds making some rounds, so there'll be some progress you can actually see, which is refreshing. Holly Navarre completed one of the hydraulic loops we've always been talking about improving the hydraulics on the water line, several on Ortega Street, right there about Rio Vista. So that's kind of a big deal for us to improve the hydraulic system through there. Water loss is creeping up a little bit, as Bill would tell us about. But,
No, I'm not saying we're below 10%.
so we're still below 10%. We have found multiple service line leaks here lately, so hopefully that'll help us start bringing this number back down. And I&I is just about non-existent because we haven't had any rain. So when you don't have rain, you don't have a lot of I&I. So that'll change. We have found a few things in the system that we have fixed that would, when it did rain, would contribute to more I&I, but we've been real proactive in trying to knock those out when we can. So when it starts raining a bunch, we'll see how good we're doing. Other than that, that's it.
that's so light.
Y'all getting some good use out of the camera equipment?
We have not dove off into it just yet. We're still waiting on a little bit of training, but that's coming with the holidays and all. It's kind of, things been kind of tight, so.
Right. Okay. All right, thank you for that. All right, that concludes our agenda items. We're on to member forum.
Is anybody on, I don't think.
Yes, Hope Bush.
Oh,
No, I'm just trying to do, I'm trying to speak.
Okay.
can I speak?
Yes, Mr. Cosby.
I got a quick question, clarification. Last month, you guys determined by the attorney that proxy voting is state law, and you're gonna have proxy vote. That's fine. So, as
So I don't
far
think
as,
That's not,
Sorry for interrupting, Mr. Cosby,
Yeah,
but I don't
that's
think
not-
that's correct.
that is
No.
not correct.
It
The
was
fact
determined
that our current articles of incorporation and bylaws allow proxy voting,
correct?
according to state law, if those documents allow proxy voting, you have to allow it in this election.
Right? Yeah,
So-
right. And
And
what I want to,
that's what part of the reason for the articles of incorporation to be updated, is to get rid of that. So in the future, it won't be allowed for any.
Okay, and
Maybe,
that's my question.
if it gets approved.
Now, let's say that you approve that. Let's say you go through what you guys are going through, and it gets approved by the membership to change the articles of incorporation, to change the bylaws. And you try, and the one issue that y'all said repeatedly, the only issue that's really been standing out is to eliminate proxy voting, correct? Is state law gonna let you do that, even if you change your bylaws? See what I'm saying? If
The bylaws
state law
trump.
says Florida, you have to have proxy voting.
That's what the state of Florida was saying is because we have that in our bylaws, we have to maintain that for this vote. But once we change the bylaws, the state of Florida doesn't have any right to tell us.
Is
that correct, William?
Is that how?
Is that correct, Will?
You control your bylaws.
Yes.
Your bylaws control.
Yes.
So.
Okay.
So if we eliminate proxy voting in our bylaws, and
You do not have proxy.
we do not have proxy voting for any subsequent matter.
Which I'm on y'all's side on that. Now, at some point, can we get more specific on what else you want to change in the bylaws? And if you do change the articles of incorporation to change the bylaws, how far is that door going to be open in the future? If the membership comes in here on election day on 16 January 24 and gives you says, okay, they vote, they let you do it, how long is that door going to be open?
It'll be open forever from going forward on that point. So, but we put a threshold in that change to the article of incorporation that a minimum of 5% of the membership will have to show up and vote in order for us to make any changes to the bylaws,
Right,
which
and
is
I'm
a
saying
fairly
after
high
that-
threshold.
Yeah, and I'm saying after that fact, let's say you get the votes that you want to do this,
Mhm.
that door will be, you're saying that door to change the bylaws will be open forever?
Subject to the approval of the members on each individual item. So we'll have to have it either at the annual meeting or a special meeting of the members called.
Right.
And Will correct me if I'm wrong, we'll have a vote, and at least 5% of the total membership at that time, which right now amounts to 850 some, has to vote.
So I don't think you are correct, Bill. I think the question you asked, as I understand it, is that door will be open until this board or a subsequent board reverts back and says, hey, we need to update the articles of incorporation to make it tougher to change the bylaws. Until that happens, we'll be able to make the changes that the future boards decide need to be made if we get that 5% of people to come in.
That's right.
I mean, but that opportunity or that allowance will go until a future board decides we don't want to do that anymore.
But the board can only recommend the changes.
That's right.
It's the members that have to make the
Yes.
change. The members have to vote for the change.
No, I understand it.
Yeah.
The way, and correct me if I'm wrong, the way you set it up is it will be the members that come to a open meeting, special meeting or a regular open meeting, it's on the agenda, and it's gonna be the people that are sitting in these chairs right here, they're gonna make a decision for the entire membership of the water boards. That's not correct? Is that
Well,
correct?
as long as that threshold is
I mean, for water.
at least 5% of the membership, so we'd have to have 850 people in here, which realistically, the only day that we're gonna be able to do that is on election day, on the annual election.
Right, see, I'm moving forward from that. I'm saying, okay, you get the percentage you need that come in here on 16 January 24. You get that, you get them to vote, and they say, okay. The next step is what I'm talking about. The next step of when you actually just say, okay, now here's what we want to change, and then now you're specific after the membership comes in here on 16 January and gives you says you can do it, even though you're not telling us what you really want to do except proxy voting. All right, eliminating
We've
that.
mentioned some other things that we think would be beneficial to change in the bylaws.
Okay, and I think it would be very constructive if you want to get the people here on 16 January to tell us what it is. I mean, we're running out of time.
We're not at that stage, Mr. Cosby. We have to,
16?
no, we have to get to our authorization to change the bylaws first, right? And then it goes out to the members of what we're gonna do. And we won't do it, Joe Campbell won't do that in vacuum. I'll say, okay, I'd like this, I'd like to see term limits. I say, the board has to vote, but a member has to present. And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna cede my time to our legal so he can actually give you what we agreed to. Mr. Dunaway?
Yeah, so, I mean, what you were talking about is correct. The process that's going through now is to potentially change the articles of incorporation, not the bylaws. Right now, the bylaws, it's difficult to change, difficult and impossible based on the threshold set by the articles of incorporation. If that passes, then there will be the opportunity, although not the requirement, to make changes to the bylaws. That process is followed the way the bylaws lay them out, but in this situation, it's not going to happen in the same meeting.
Right,
It's going to happen in the future, after adequate notice and to the members and participation, and presumably, based on what I've heard from this board, a workshop and, you know, a lot of communication. And that's what my
But it
understanding.
may, but when you get to the part, if this passes on 16 January 24, and you get to the part of workshops and all that down the road, and March, April comes around, and now you've made this threshold to change the bylaws so simple and easy with just the people sitting in these chairs during a meeting. No?
No.
Okay, what
Yeah,
will
that's
the,
what the.
850 people have to vote.
okay, so
5%.
you're gonna use the same threshold that you're gonna use for changing the articles of incorporation on 16 January. Is that what I'm hearing?
No. On 16 January is the easy part. You three, if this was a, well, there has to be what, 10 members? 10 members present.
Right.
So 6 say, yes, we vote to change the bylaw, the articles of incorporation, to include a higher threshold than these 10. That was our intent.
Okay, so
So
you're.
then the threshold goes, to instead of those 10 members, now it is
5%.
5% of that current membership, currently 850 people. So you need 400 and some odd votes to change.
Okay, so
51%.
what I'm getting at here, it gets easier to change the bylaws than changing what you're gonna try to change on 16 January 24.
No, it will be harder.
I think
Much
we should-
harder.
Much harder.
Well, you just said you're gonna lower the threshold.
No, right now the threshold is lower. Right now it's 10 members.
Okay,
We're going to raise that, so at least 850 people, 5% of the membership needs to vote.
Right now, it's 50% of the membership.
right,
Yeah.
No,
right.
change the bylaws. Yeah, to change bylaws or the articles.
Okay, I still think there's some confusion because I understand the process as far as articles of incorporation on 16 January 24. I understand the threshold you've come up with, so it's not 50% plus one vote. I understand that fully. It's after that that I'm concerned about, because once you do that, that's why my first question was, once you do that, is it forever until a board changes it? Is there a cutoff date where all of a sudden y'all go, you know what? We need to change this too, and now we can do it because we changed the articles of incorporation on 16 January 24.
Well, the board
See what I'm
can't do
getting
it. The
at?
board would have to put it before the membership, and 5% of the membership would have to show up to vote
any
in order to
changes.
make any future changes.
Okay, so
So
the
we
way,
are making it difficult to
Difficult.
change the bylaws, but possible.
okay. All right, well,
But now it's
that's
difficult but impossible.
well, that's probably almost impossible too.
Probably.
That's why the last few months I've come to this podium and said, if you guys would just tell the things that you really want to do, that's where you would get the impact from the membership of, if they agree with you, and say, yeah, that really needs to be done. That's.
And as those things come up, then if the membership is energized and they really want to do it, we'll get the 5% vote.
Right, that's true,
And
absolutely,
if they don't, we won't, and then it won't pass.
right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other items come before the board? If not,
I got one other item.
yeah.
I did look on my invite list for the groundbreaking 52 invitees, Mr. Joe Campbell, not on it. So when we walk out of this meeting, myself or Emerald will be sending a calendar invite with our sincerest apologies. And we hope you can make it. December 8th.
Cordially invited.
I know
I don't think I'm on there either.
Motion to adjourn.
We'll send it to the whole board.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.